Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dylan. I'm your host, joined by my blue collar badass because we found time, even though I'm in a basically a Starbucks parking lot right now and outside, but we made it happen. Matt, how are you, man?
Doing good, Dylan. It's glad to be back on the mics, man. It's been God, it feels like it's been longer than a month, but it's been a long time for sure.
Yeah, dude, I don't even keep track anymore. Like it's whenever we can make it happen, it works.
It's just that time of year, man. It's busy in a good way, but it's just everything is firing on all cylinders on my front. And it sounds like yours too.
Yeah, like I've been in LA for some meetings here. I've got, meetings coming up in Chicago for some other big contracts. I've got like everything's moving and shaking, man. And like just with the travel, like I uh left some meetings early, someone else to like handle them. Ended up stopping at a Starbucks like an hour and a half ago to do a demo meeting in Starbucks. And I'm like, I hope this microphone works and doesn't pick up like the blenders and all the other shit
Right.
as doing demo meetings. And then drove another hour to sit here and be with you, man.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we got to do it, and we'll get moving. We won't dilly dally on this one because I know you're busy.
It's part of the game.
So what's new, brother?
Oh man. The big things are like I just wrapped up phase two yesterday. I didn't even talk about it on the episode they posted this week, but just wrapped up phase two. We got a 50K this weekend in Tahoe, and then so it's 31 miles and change. And then on August 26th is my 100 miler. And again, like I know this is not like relatable for most anybody running these distances, but yeah, man, that's like basically what's on the calendar. And then a ton of travel and just figuring out how to get some runs in, whether it's on the treadmill or outside or, trying to get up in the mountains to do a lot of this stuff.
It's awesome, man. 50K is that's out of my range. That's way out of my range. 100 mile, I can't even really fathom, but I know you like it and you're good at it, so I'm looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, man, like I mean in this training schedule, like just to, give everybody an example. So like last Saturday I did 22 miles in like the morning and then like I ran out of water and stuff and I was in a place where like I could have, pulled water out of like the lakes and whatever, but I was like I need more calories and I just didn't have enough food. But I went back to my car, finished at like 22 miles and then like late, hung out with my in-laws and we did a bunch of stuff and then like did dinner and all that. And then at 8:30 went back out and did like another, 5, 6 miles. So like
Wow.
I basically did a marathon on a weekend. I broke it a little bit and then, the next morning went out and ran like another, uh few what I do. Well, I ended up getting a side stitch. So I walked for like 45 minutes, drove, then like ran a few more miles, like ran when I got to where I was going. And then, ended up meeting a buddy and then we just walked for like 2 hours. So I got in my mileage that way. And then even finishing out like phase two, I did my, walk, run and weights. And then I ended up doing another like hour and a half walk on the beach last night, again with a buddy, just like catching up and just walked up and down the beach, to catch up.
Not a bad place to do your outdoor workouts, man. We're like we were talking before we hit record. I'm in the first week of phase one. And we walk around Brighton, downtown Brighton, our outdoor workout. We're doing rucks every day now. We up the weight plate to 30 pounds for this round through, but certainly not as cool as walking around on a beach.
I mean, it was at like 10 o'clock at night, but hey, you
Hey,
do what you gotta do.
that's right, man. Well, that's cool, dude. For those of you who are listening who don't know, so phase two is the second phase, well, third phase really of the Live Hard program. We've talked about it before. Phase one is technically the second phase with 75 hard is the first phase, and phase one, phase two, and phase three. But it's definitely worth looking into if you haven't seen it, and it's worth doing by all means. So I've been pretty geeked this time. So I did 75 hard with a guy I work with. We did it back in, I think we started in February. And now the two of us are also doing phase one, we also now have a woman in the office, a newer employee who started 75 hard all by her fucking self. Like I think I don't know, before the fourth, which was cool to see, like just jump right in and do it because it's really powerful, man. I mean, you can't really easily put it into words, and her especially, she's in the phase or the section right now where like everything just sucks, right? She's, 2.5 weeks, something like that into it. And we were talking the other day. I'm like, listen, just make it 2 more weeks. And that's when you'll start noticing shit, right? You'll start seeing things that you haven't seen before as far as your mental capacity and your physique and all these things start not becoming easy, but they start making more sense to you. And you start seeing that motivation cycle going of, counting up all these wins. And but for now, she's like, fuck, this is bullshit. Why did I ever think this was a good idea?
Yeah, it's really getting through that first, 50 days probably. And then really like the last 2 weeks are just like you just keep showing up for it,
Yeah.
and that and man, more so recently, and this, ties in for you guys, right? But this is all personal excellence, but it's showing up, doing what you have to do for that day. And then when you finish for the day, you're done, right? That's like the beauty of 75 hard in so many ways is you have your critical task list and you do it. And when you're done, you're done, right? And then you just have to not mess it up, right? That's the biggest thing is like not messing up at night, and making sure that you're then ready for the next day, right? You're not drinking, you're not doing any of that stuff at night to like wreck your not only, the program, but also the next day. So you're well prepared and like, it's been cool because like again, me and a buddy that I don't see very often, I was out, we were out until midnight, right? Like walking and catching up and all that kind of stuff. And and then I got up at 6:30 this morning, right? I didn't get back to the hotel till like 1, got up at 6:30 and I'm fine because like it wasn't like out at the bars and
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
drinking, eating shit food, and then you're like getting up groggy, like and I got up and did everything I needed to do this morning. We had meetings. I was fresh, it wasn't foggy. Everything was good, ready to go. And I can move along with my day and, I get 5 hours of driving left to do today and it'll be fine, right? Like because I'm fresh, I'm ready. I, ran yesterday, like everything's aligned to where you're just you're not now tomorrow's my birthday, so like that's going to be a separate deal, but and I didn't like actually plan this intentionally. It just kind of happened. Um like we were talking about it was like we were there, we went to, did our range day and all that kind of stuff, and then got home. And I started it like the day before my anniversary, and so I was didn't have anything on the anniversary, right? Clean, stuck to the diet like 2 days into the phase two, and then it finishes up before my birthday, and now I'm gonna enjoy that kind of thing. But that's how it goes, man.
Well, you earned it too, right? And it's really amazing to me. It always is when I do this. Alcohol is one thing that's easy. Everybody understands that. Like if you drink too much and you get shit faced, you feel like crap the next day. That just par for the course. But what always almost takes me back is the food thing, right? Like you don't realize how shitty you feel the next morning after you eat crap all day the day before. And it's really eye-opening, man. I mean, the program makes you work pretty strictly on some sort of diet program. There's no real restrictions on what it is. You get to make that up. But like myself, this time I'm counting macros, which I've never done in my life. And it's a pain in the ass. It is a giant pain in the ass. Everything I put in my mouth, I gotta pull up my little app and try and count it and track it. But um it's just kind of been cool to see. And granted, I'm only a week in, so but it's cool to see like, all right, well, if I eat this, that's this much protein. I'm getting closer to my protein goals. And I just kind of think like, well, normally I'd eat, I don't know, a bag of chips or, a handful of cookies and start looking at the back of packages more like, holy shit, that's 300 calories for like 2 cookies or whatever it is. And I don't know. It's eye opening, man. And it makes you really think too, how much shit everybody else is eating.
Well, and this is the thing. So for like, all you guys out there, especially on the construction side, right? Like what food trucks are you bringing to your job site, right? What food are you bringing in for the guys? Is it pizza and stuff? And then like no one's productive after that meeting? Well, no shit, Sherlock, you
Yeah.
know. Like why are you catering in pizza, yeah, it's $20, but like, come on, man, now you're losing productivity. And this is like the whole shortchange a dollar, now and you're losing 10, 20, 50, in our world, it's thousands, tens of thousands of dollars, right? So like for your meetings and stuff, like, get the Qdoba like buffet stuff, right? That's way better. Yeah, it's going to be like $300 rather than, 100, but you got, let's just say you got 10, 15 guys for 4 hours, right? So you're at 40, 50, 60 hours worth of work, man hours in the afternoon times $100. Let's just say an hour, now you're at 6 grand worth of lost productivity. Like the math doesn't add up. And it's
Yeah.
these simple logical things, right? Of that really people shortchange, right? It's doing like this quick back of the envelope math of like, okay, I spent $300 on lunch and people aren't going to feel like shit, want to take a nap. So, but I'm saving, $6,000 in man hours on the other side of it. Um, can like it's simple math to do when you start to roll through this, right? You're saving $200 to lose 6 grand, like not a good math equation.
Nobody looks that far ahead into the magic eight ball though, right? They're all thinking, well, it's cheaper now, and it kills me. Like I got to be careful what I'm saying here, but there's a lot of there's a lot of donuts consumed in our industry, right? And I don't really believe that bagels are much healthier than donuts, but there are healthy options out there. And it's the same mentality though. Like, yeah, I could go spend $12 at Dunkin' Donuts and put a bunch of fried slop in front of my guys that it'll get eaten, or I could go spend, 20, $30 and bring in something healthy like, Kind bars or whatever, magic hippie fucking things my wife buys for me. But there's just it's just a matter of looking really into it, right? And paying closer attention to what you're consuming. And I don't know, it's interesting and it's eye opening. And I mentioned, so we're doing, two of us are doing phase one of our associates is doing 75 hard. We also just went through our annual or our biannual rocks, right? And we launched those actually this week. What's really cool is this time every single person in the company bought into, we each get 3 rocks. So 2 of them are strictly business related, but the third for every single person is a personal development rock. And we let them kind of help pick it and tweak it and tailor it. But every single person committed to something, either mentally or physically, to better themselves. And as a leader of a company and a guy who happens to be, interested in staying healthy myself, it was pretty neat to see. Like, I didn't know how it was going to be taken, right? And it was like, boom, instant buy-in, and granted, it's different phases. I don't expect everyone to do 75 hard. It's not for everybody. It shouldn't be. But, there's a general commitment to, hey, yeah, let's figure out how to get even just a little bit healthier. And to me, it was really cool to see.
Yeah, and so just real quick for anybody that doesn't know, so rocks are from Gino Wickman's Traction, so the traction system in the US. So go read Traction and Rocket Fuel and all the Gino Wickman books to help you on that side of it. And then, yeah, man, like all this stuff feeds into like more productivity, uh, better people, better outcomes, right? You don't feel like shit. I mean, so this isn't, and for your people that are doing this now, whether they stay with you for a decade, life, or they're only here for 2 years, right? They're going to take that mindset and thing to whatever they're going to do next in life. And I think and again, I put this up on this week's episode, right? Like, is to treat that client, and your people are clients in a way, right? Your team members are clients in a way where you are looking out for their best interests. And however you do that, right? And mindset and health and teaching them skill sets and productivity, right? Like whatever those things, well, and it should be all of them across the board,
Yeah.
is they'll take them with them, to their household, their communities, right? And this feeds into the whole local thing. And how do you affect change, right? Well, it starts at home, starts with you. Well, it really starts with you, then at home, then your community, then we can branch out from there. And that's what and it, man, it makes me so much happier in a lot of ways where I'm not worried about like the national problems. I'm working on me. I'm doing what I can here. I'm doing what I can in my communities. I shop at local places, right? I buy coffee from the local guys, and that's just like the way that I can support in my local community. I shop at the IGA, not at, most of the other places, right? The bigger chains, again, just to keep it local.
Well, and you touched on it, keeping it local and building your community and helping your community through small means like fitness. Even it starts at home, it goes to the community, it goes to the townships and the states, and but it eventually, if enough of us keep doing this, that's taking over then nationally, right? And it's actually solving. It could have the potential to solve a lot of the problems that we have right now as a society in general. And to me, like, that's always been cool. Andy talks about it a ton. Personal excellence is the ultimate rebellion, and it really is. And it starts at the dinner table, right? It's controlling what goes into your mouth and what goes into your head and what you're doing with yourself, and everything else starts falling into place.
Yeah, I mean, like, so just as an example, and I get that like I'm extreme in a lot of this because like I'm trying to run 100 miles, right? So like I ran, I don't know, 50 some odd miles like last week. And so in that, like I just spend a ton of time, right? That's like 20 hours worth of, well, maybe not that much, but like it's a long time running, right? Like I'm out there for a while, 10 hours running. So in that I also listen, that's like, so there's the running. I also, and driving and whatever else and travel time. I put in 20 hours last week in just personal development content, right? Podcasts, books, other trainings that I'm a part of, right? Like I put in a part-time job just learning last week, right? And again, I ran for 5.5 hours on Saturday alone, right? And all my stuff's at 1.5x. So you start to see where like this starts to add up. Um, but like because of that, like I can show up a lot of places and just be because I put so much time in other places to where you can show up and do your thing, right? This is when you're skilled at your craft, right? When you're a whether it's a great engineer, great, GC, whether it's a great specialty trades, whatever it is, right? You put so much time in and then you can just show up and be there for it. Because you put time in elsewhere where you can show up in meetings and just be at the meeting, you can put your phone down, you can pay attention where you need to pay attention.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the 10,000 hour rule, right? Once you've done something for 10,000 hours, you're a quote unquote expert, or whatever the metric is. But whether that's running for 5 hours straight on a weekend, or lifting weights, or doing a presentation in front of a new client, right? It's all about putting in the reps, no matter what sport it is that you're actually repping for. And you do it enough times, and once that shit comes naturally to you, it is, like, to your point, it's a great feeling to be able to walk into a meeting and not be worried, not be nervous. It's a great feeling to go and walk into the gym and know what the hell I'm there to do, and not be all flustered and out of place. And I mean, we could talk about this for hours. I am going to shift gears, though. I did listen to your solo show that dropped yesterday, I guess. I wanted to take issue with one of the comments you made about and you even mentioned it. You mentioned my name, like, I'm not sure what Matt would think. I'm like, well, I know what the fuck I think. So you were talking about new guys, or young, not young, but young to the game, new entrepreneurs, new business people coming up, and what should you do to get started? And you were talking about taking everything you can get and trying everything, type of thing. And while I agree with a lot of the premise you said, right? It's really about get your ass out there and grind, right? Get into the hustle mentality and just start grinding, and the things will come. I did want to caution people too, at least on the contracting side of where I live and what I've experienced. You got to be careful too, though, because if you start going after everything, eventually you kind of become like a dog with a chain on its neck, right? And you're biting and barking at every single thing that goes by, trying to get that steak. And speaking from very personal experience, what I'm dealing with even as recently as today, some of those stakes that you grab, you really should have fucking let them walk by. You didn't really want them, and you just got to be careful, man, because when I got rolling here 6 years ago, almost 6 years ago to the day, um, there was a prospect that I chased very, very hard, and it was not worth it. We'll put it that way. It's coming to a conclusion now, and it's going to be finished and off my plate, and I'll sleep better after it's done. You can probably put the pieces together in your head. But I used to work for a guy a very long time ago. He was a really cool dude, and one of the comments he made to me frequently has stuck with me ever since. And he used to say, Matt, always remember, bud, some of the best projects are the ones you walk away from. So again, back to your comments yesterday, totally agree on the grind and hustle, and like you gotta grab up what you can grab, and that's how you meet people, that's how you build relationships. But I did want to just throw in my little smidgen of contractor born caution that some of those relationships are not necessarily good ones. So be cautious and be a little bit selective at least.
Oh yeah. Well, and this is the thing. It's so nuanced, right?
Yes.
Like it's so nuanced. And in a format like this, right? Like I don't know your situation. I don't know
Yeah.
where you're at, right? I don't know what you're trying to go after. And it's the bigger point that maybe not missed on it was you need to form relationships with those clients, right? And sometimes it is that small project, like at least on the engineering side, it was always like that small thing, right? You're going to take a bathroom renovation or a locker room remodel or something that sucks, right? And in my world, like I was on the like institutional side of a lot of stuff, right? I was in, you know, schools, higher education stuff, healthcare, right? Where we're signing MSAs, right? Master service agreements with, a hospital system that's massive, right?
Right. Right.
Billions of dollars, right? We're signing it with, Indiana State or Bloomington IU, right? When I was in Indiana, like we're signing big contracts where we're going to be your engineer of record, right? And so in those instances, like to get in to just do that MSA for the first project, you're going to take some shit deals, but you're doing it and this is where I caution on pricing too, right? And the promises that sometimes get made in those initial things, and there's going to be all this opportunity and then it never comes, right? You can't completely lose your ass on those first projects with the hope and promise, right, that never comes. Now, when you sign an MSA, there's a lot of, usually you're agreeing on pricing for like ever in those. Like there's a lot of other things that get baked into those MSAs that you do, but that's not going to be every client. And like in the engineering world, it's really our time that gets sucked into it. We're not outlaying capital for material or any of that type of stuff that you have on the contractor side. So, and again, I'm in agreement on that. And it's so situational. It's so nuanced. Like we could spend, for each one of you, you could spend hours trying to figure out, and you do spend that time to figure out like, man, is this worth it? Should I really be doing this? And the beginning at the very start, like, I didn't take everything because I didn't need to, and it's not that it's biting me, but it would have helped along the way to cash flow some more stuff, to bring in people earlier, to do some different things that I focused down on software, and now I've opened it back up to where we kind of do more and help more because we're just frankly getting asked for it. So, okay, you want to sign a deal, let's sign a deal. And to
Yeah.
be more in that movement of it. And again, it's everybody's going to be different, right? I just happen to have a big toolbox to do, right? And like if you were just a pure engineering firm, you know what you're going after, right? And you're going to do that. If you're a contracting firm, you know the types of things that you're going to do. And sometimes you're taking, maybe not the nicest jobs, but heck, you need cash flow. You need work for your guys and keeping them on versus laying them off, right? And this becomes where it's so nuanced in that conversation. I just have a much bigger toolbox than most people to like, to do training, to do, content, to do Revit template setups, to do engineering work, to do software, to do custom software, right? Like my toolbox is big. And it's just what do you want, right? And then it's servicing that, building the team behind it to, ultimately deliver for everybody.
Absolutely. And I wasn't meaning to pick on you, but I think
No, it's
it's a
fair. It's
it's a
fair. It's
great topic, right? I mean, it'd be one that'd be fun to actually get some live feedback, like when we first started doing this. Remember we were doing those LinkedIn live or some version of that, and maybe one of these days we'll set that back up and do that, because it'd be a fun conversation, right? Because it differs for every person, differs for every specialty, every industry. You know, you you got to eat, right? At the end of the day, you got to eat. So, if you're taking the jump and you're putting your boots on or whatever, and you're going headfirst into owning a business, whatever it is, you got to eat, and you gotta go after everything you can. Just, I don't know. I laughed this morning. I was listening to the episode this morning on the way to work, and when you called, you said something like, "I don't know if Matt will agree with me." It just kind of hit me. So
Yeah, man. Well, and it's again, those are all fair points, and this is the whole thing for you guys, right? Is Matt and I do sit on different sides of the table, right?
yeah,
My overhead is very different than yours. Your cash outlay is very different than mine. And like that's the benefit of having both of us here is like it is two different sides of the fence in the same industry. So like, whether and this goes to like knowing what everyone's dealing with in the industry. And I don't think this gets talked about often enough to where, like as an engineer, I understand your capital outlay and your kind of risk profile, right? And the same on the other side, right? Like what's the engineer's risk profile and, liability on some of this stuff is because at the end of the day, like personally, like the firm's going to take a lot of the brunt, but personally, like your seal, same with an architect, your personal name is on these drawings. It's the only industry that does that, like we take so much personal risk in signing and sealing documents. The firm has it too, but really at a personal level, if you screw up bad enough, I mean, you're done.
absolutely. I mean, that's frankly why this show works, right? That's why we've been going for 2.5 years or whatever the hell it's been, because we can provide those two kind of, I wouldn't say opposing perspectives, but just different. And we don't, even me, I mean, I co-host the show with you, obviously, right? But I can talk to you all day long on mic and we can talk about these things, but put me back in my office in a meeting about, why my architect just fucked something up and why he doesn't take any risk. And I immediately revert back to like caveman contractor slamming my fist, but it's through conversations like this that starts to spread, and the caveman only comes out for a very short period of time.
I mean, everybody's got it. It just looks different for everybody,
Yes.
right? Yours is very visible, right? If a wall collapses, it's like, I mean, everybody's in that room at the end of the day, right? Like, did the guy install it correctly? Did, the manufacturer, like roofs are number one example, right? It's the biggest thing everybody gets sued on. So like, was the manufacturer there to review it? Did they screw up their inspection? The contractor do it correctly? Did you as the GC schedule it properly? Did the architect detail it right?
Right.
Like you just go down the list and like, all right, you got 15 people in here. Okay, who's whose sword or who we slamming this sword through, like that's
Yeah.
what it comes down to, and who's paying for what. But I mean, ultimately, so everyone's coming in the room at some point, right? It's just that the personal liability, not the company, right? Like the personal name and livelihood of the architect and the engineer who signed and sealed those documents is truly on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just risk perspective too, and risk tolerance, right? I mean, truth be told, if we default on a bond, then they're going to come and take my house. So that's that's what I go to sleep with every night, right? Like I have to perform, and it's the same idea. Like you got to make sure that the designs that you're putting out, the engineering you're releasing is true and accurate and correct, and that somebody isn't going to zap the shit out of themselves and die on something you designed. I got to make sure that the promises I make are being kept, and that my company is behind me, and I don't want to lose my house. So
Right, and
it's
that's the thing every owner faces, right? At the end of the day, the owner has all their personal assets on the line for it, or their credit score, like everything, there is a level of personal responsibility in there for it. to the owner of the company, right? And most people working in a firm, which is, who's listening to this, you guys don't have it, but the firm owner has, that level of risk. So when you think that that guy doesn't care, you got to remember, his house is on the line, right?
That's
Like
right. That's right.
first.
Be nicer to me.
Well, maybe not that, but
Oh man. Well, I think I don't really know how long we've been going. I think we're kind of pushing up onto about our block of time here. And I know you got stuff to do and I got stuff to do. Anything else you wanted to touch on today?
the biggest one that I keep coming back to in different conversations is, not only in the personal responsibility, the localness of things is technology at the end of the day. And I know we've touched on some of this AI stuff, and I've touched on, some of these pieces coming out, but is like just understand that technology is a tool, right? No matter what you're using it for, your phone is a tool, right? Like I've been happy Instagram got removed like from my phone somehow, like it magically just pushed itself to the cloud. So I just haven't re-downloaded it. So I've not been on Instagram, and that's like my thing. Like I can go on LinkedIn, but I'm not gonna like I'll post and I'm
Yeah.
good to like get out of it. Stories really grab me, man. Like people so anyway, like with that is like you got to remember technology is a tool, right? How you use this as a tool, how you listen to information as a tool. You have to apply it in your life. And the only way you can do that is through reps, right? Through experience. The only way you can embody something is through experience. So if you don't put enough reps in, if you don't have enough experience on something, like running, stupid distances, like I made a joke at dinner last night, like I can run a half marathon with a water bottle, and be fine. Like not eating anything and, like through 75 hard, like I'm a chronic kind of under eater. But if you've like been around me when I only eat my one meal a day, like it's a lot of food, but like typically I don't eat enough. So like through all this, you learn through experience. That's the only way to do it. That's why, like, being on the job site and as you train people, right, to have them with you and to teach them and to continue to pour those lessons into them, right? People aren't going to get it the first time. They might not get it the 10th time. They may not get it 100th time. You probably need to have some conversations between 10 and 100, but like some people it just takes those reps to get through. And then like magically there's a flip over to where they get it. They understand it. Like and it's second nature, right? To where you didn't know how to do anything, at all, to where it's like, oh yeah, I've been doing this my whole life, right? Even though it's just you've had the reps involved in it to learn the skill, learn the trade, learn the craft to do it, and again, whether that's giving a presentation, most of you guys like in firms do not practice speaking enough to where you, when you get up and present, and like I've been around a lot of sales guys here recently, and it's like, you guys are salespeople, like learn to present, put some energy into like presenting your solution and what you're doing. It's like, come on, guys, and these vendors and stuff. It's like, and for all of, like architects and GCs and, you guys that are really presenting and doing formal presentations to clients or town halls or, city councils, like learn to present. You need to put in reps. You need to practice in your offices, giving presentations, giving speeches, doing all that, because, frankly, your project can ride or die in a city council meeting where you're,
Yeah.
like we were talking about this before, like where you either have the energy to like get through to them and really like convey your message, or it's going to fall flat because you're boring as shit. Like you have to practice this stuff, right? Your big project that you're going to get, is made or break. Like, did you do discovery? Did you figure out what their problems were? Did you like do any research before you walked in? Like, do you even pull up their website to see what they do? Like there's a lot of those things that, again, I know we're out of time and this could be a full day session on like how to do a proper discovery call or present properly, but like, and there's tons of books on this stuff, but really getting those reps in whatever it is, right? Bending pipe, laying pipe, digging a ditch, right? From a operator that can't do shit to like a guy that's been, can grade to within a half inch and eyeball on it,
Yeah.
like it's all in the reps, man.
It's in the reps and you got to know your shit, right? You got to, the more you know the subject matter whether you're presenting or whether you're putting in pipe, the more you know about it and the better you know about it, the more confident you can be and the more swagger you can have when you're doing it. And that's what sells shit, right? Like it or not, if you go in there and you're a miserable, you know, presenter and you're looking at the floor and you're kicking your feet and mumbling and shit, you probably aren't going to win that one.
And two, like know where you fit, man. Like there's some people that are born presenters. There's some people that are, born and made to be in the field, right? And barking orders and being that bulldog out in the field. Like you need both of them. You need all of them,
Yeah.
right? Neither is right or wrong. And like, nobody should take it that way. Like make a choice and decide who you want to be, right? Do you want to be the guy in the field? Do you want to be the guy, like you may never be a foreman, right? You're just going to be a master electrician, right? A master of your craft, and you're good with that, right? You don't need to be a foreman. You don't need to be a superintendent. You don't need to be a project manager. Maybe you do, right? Whatever journey and position you want to be in, to where maybe you just want to clock out at the end of the day, relax, and call it good. Maybe you don't. Whatever path you do, make a decision.
Yeah, I mean, it all ties into what we started off talking with today, and it's personal excellence, right? It doesn't matter if all you want to do is be the guy digging the ditch. Fine, be the best goddamn ditch digger that anyone's ever seen for your 8 or 10 hours, and then go fuck off. And it doesn't matter what you're doing as long as you put your all into it and you give it true effort. That's what matters out there, and that's what makes us all better. That's how we win. That's how we build better. It's everything about this industry, man.
And for today, that's enough.
Yeah, we've gone on. Guys, check out our YouTube channel. Dylan mentioned it last week. We are slow dripping out all of our recorded episodes. We're still trying to figure out the best way to do that. So by all means, if you've got any tips or suggestions or any episodes you want to see sooner than others, get in touch with one of us, and we will certainly make it happen.
And again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for supporting us. And that's going to be this episode of the Construction Corner podcast. Until next time.